Welcome to Powered by Ancestry. I'm your guide and host, Kwesi Kunadu. On this episode, our focus will be spiritual warfare and ancestry. Spiritual warfare, what is it? What is it not? By spiritual warfare, I mean the sort of sparring and battles and even war, all-out war at the level or layer of spirit, meaning a range of beings from ancestral to spiritual forces, to forces of nature, to more cosmic forces. So there's a range of forces and energies that inhabit our worlds. And by worlds, I mean not simply the earth, but outside of the earth and even deep within the earth. And so these layers of forces and energies that exist and that live and thrive, there are battles going on right now as you hear my voice through whatever device you're using to watch this video. And these battles can and often are intense. The wars are intense, even though you may not see it. The same way that the earth, we're told, moves around on its axis at a tilt, but we feel neither the movement nor the tilt. However, it's happening, so we're told. Likewise, spiritual warfare occurs, and it is occurring as we speak or as I speak, even though you may not see the combatants and the purpose or reason for the conflict. How do we know that spiritual warfare is occurring or that one needs to engage in spiritual warfare? We know when something is awry, spiritually speaking, in terms of a conflict or tension, when there is a feeling or a sense that something is wrong in a room, in a house, or in a place where you are. For instance, you ever go to an event, whether it be a party or a gathering of some sort, and you go into a room or a part or a section of a room, and you said, the vibes here are just off, right? And you turn around and leave. Spiritual warfare is happening. Or you come home, you've been away, vacation or a trip, and as soon as you enter the house, something feels off or strange or weird. Spiritual warfare is occurring. Or, more popularly, you sense that someone who you may not know for sure is out to get you or is after you or done something to you that is malicious and that's meant to harm or maim or destroy through spiritual means. Either from a hater or someone who you have some tension or conflicts with, or someone who just simply doesn't like you. These are all ways in which we can determine or detect that spiritual warfare will or is occurring. And so spiritual warfare, to your surprise, can often be more deadly than martial or physical warfare. You see, in martial or physical warfare, there are combatants you can see. In spiritual warfare, you can't see unless you have a healer or spiritualist who has the eyes and ears to see and hear them and can point out where they are and what they're doing. That's one big distinction. A second distinction as to how we know spiritual warfare is or is about to occur is when normative routines become very difficult to execute. For instance, you can't sleep for 3 or 4 nights in a row when, prior to, you're able to relatively sleep well. Or odd things happen that cut across patterns in your life. 2 tires of your car are slashed on one side. That's odd. Or phone numbers disappear. Or messages that were there and stored disappear. These are all instances of things out of your daily normative patterns and routines that should make you wonder, what's going on here? Because these are the signposts that indicates or tells us that some form of spiritual warfare is occurring. And as I said a moment ago, this warfare is more deadly than martial warfare. The way spiritual warfare works is that it leaves little trace because it occurs in these ways. And I'll give you a few examples. You're driving in your car, or better yet, to put you and that energy away from you, someone is driving in their car. And all of a sudden, the person who just left their home and they simply fall asleep, though they're well rested. That's spiritual warfare That's sending you to meet your ancestors perhaps earlier than you were destined to. Or you get on a flight, and it's the same flight you've taken before from point A to point B, but this time with clear weather, clear skies, the turbulence is ridiculous. The plane literally feels dropping out of the sky. That's spiritual warfare. It's not simply the pockets of air and the plane fighting against gravity. It's not simply that. It can be, and often is, spiritual warfare when people who are close to you, trusted people, friends, associates, colleagues, even family members, start to behave weird, meaning they start to inquire and ask you things that another person would ask. Start to say things to you to get you to respond in a way that another person wants you to respond. That's spiritual warfare. You see, spirits can hop into my body, your body, like this, and make you believe that it's actually me or you or that person that is talking to them, and you would not know the difference. They can plug in and plug out quickly. What was once maybe a simple disagreement or miscommunication between you and your partner or spouse becomes a full-blown fight with knives and weapons. I've seen all these things that I share with you. I've seen all of these and much more happen between people. And it's not all their fault, but what they fail to appreciate is that spiritual warfare is occurring. And again, it can be more deadlier, more efficient, more effective than a physical hand-to-hand combat because the traces are not there. The evidence for prosecutors to sort through is not there. It was simply deemed an accident. And that's it. Spiritual warfare is therefore the nefarious act or acts against someone by someone else or someone else's, including other forces used by those persons in partnership to cause harm, damage, or kill the recipient involved. That's the easy definition. And spiritual warfare is a sort of warfare that's fought in similar ways that cybersecurity or cybersecurity specialists fight computer viruses, bugs, and cyber warfare. Meaning, with our naked eyes and our ears, we can't see the computer virus or the bug or the code, right? That's designed to, or the malware that's designed to harm the physical computer system. Likewise, we may not see the code or the virus or the signs that are attacking our physical human body, our cells, but it's happening. And so much like cybersecurity specialists, we have to have healers and spiritualists to detect, diagnose, and deal with the out of norm, the out of pattern, the weird that are happening in your life. Because you will need assistance by someone who's a specialist or specialists to detect, to diagnose, and then lay out a plan of action to deal with the violence that is spiritual warfare. Now, short of that, or even before that, there's some things you can do that I'm going to teach you. Once you have your suspicion or your senses are raised about the things that are out of the norm, you need only 3 basic ingredients. It's going to shock you. 1 is water. 2 is 2 kinds of pepper. Black pepper or cayenne pepper. That's it. Things that are in your house. And so when you detect a spiritual force or a spirit that is in your midst, in your home, in your apartment, in your house, in an area where you are, these negative spiritual forces or spirits, period, are allergic to crossing water. And so what you simply do is, if you feel the energy or force of the vibes in the kitchen, put a bowl of water there for a few days. You can change it if you still feel it. If not, you can discard and throw the water away. It could be in a bedroom, children's room, adult room, doesn't matter. Right? Put a bowl of water on the floor. Wherever that you may feel or sense, right, or have a feeling of the weirdness, out of whack, out of the norm, you can just put a bowl of water in the area. Simple as that, just water. For the peppers, those 2 are very effective and very simple because they're probably in your cupboard. Either the cayenne or black pepper will work. Black pepper is the more versatile. If you sense or feel any of the symptoms I've just laid out for you in terms of a spirit being in your midst or causing you harm, or you may see something in your dream of the sort, and you don't want that spirit or those spirits in your home or in your apartment or wherever you may dwell, you can simply sprinkle some black pepper along your doorway, and that will keep them out. You can sprinkle a little bit too on your windowsill, and that will keep them out, keep them at bay as well. You can do the same thing as a substitute with cayenne pepper. Both peppers are very effective, very efficient. You can use either one, right? Sometimes, if you really have a strong sense of presence about these forces and you can't get to a spiritualist to help you, then mix the cayenne with the black pepper and sprinkle it in front of the door, by the window. And so water and these basic peppers are very powerful antidotes or weapons until you can get to a spiritualist to clean your house or clean your apartment or to do the kind of work of diagnosis as well as applying some remedy to get rid of those negative energies in your home, in your abode, or in your life, because it could be traveling with you. And so spiritual warfare should not be taken for granted or taken lightly, because this is a serious matter. I've seen it with my own two eyes, that people leave this earth and meet their ancestors earlier than they perhaps planned to, or perhaps which they were intended to. You see, not all dying and death is natural. Death can be expedited by way of spiritual warfare, and I've seen that too. Do not take the matter of spiritual warfare lightly. Do find or seek out a reputable and competent spiritualist or healer. And as first aid, and also on your own, you can use both water and these two peppers, cayenne and black pepper, to at least give you some modicum of safety until you can get to a spiritualist to do this kind of work and rid your lives of these forces that mean you no good. There obviously are higher levels of spiritual warfare involving not individuals only, but also families and children and communities. I won't get into that now, but I will say this, that the scale of warfare is unfathomable. It could be the individual, or it could be an entire nation. Why do you think certain countries can't help but fight each other so often? There's certain kinds of spiritual animals that exist among the ancestors of those people who inhabit that place that is still being fought out. You see, the spiritual world is a parallel world to our world. In fact, it's sort of the greater world, what happens there. But it is a parallel world. And so the fights that occurred here spill over there, and vice versa. From that perspective, we always have to be attuned and aware and very conscious of the fact of the occurrence of spiritual warfare. And if you do have a sense about it and can't get to a spiritualist, or do employ some of these basic rituals to give you some time and space, but also to rid yourself of these forces enough to get the help you need to clear your house or clear your apartment or whatever you may be, or your car, wherever you may reside or what you may drive or what you may use in your daily lives. And from that perspective, you become a more skilled and capable person to live out a meaningful life without being distracted and sometimes destroyed by the occasion of spiritual warfare. For Powered by Ancestry, I've been your guide and host, Kwesi Kunadu. Please drop your comments and questions and even thoughts for other episodes in the comment section below. Until next time, stay well.